that has to do with, for instance, trying to solve James Bond kind of movies. One of my students is telling me that.
Yeah, no, it's one of my
Well,
favorite
that's
episodes.
lately.
Do you want me to put on there?
Yeah.
Did you get it fixed?
Okay, you guys want to take pictures of this before I start drawing on it?
Would you want to? Yeah, that's fine. And then just because we have a test on it tomorrow.
This is posterior view, okay?
Sorry.
37, right?
Yeah, we're going back.
Oh, no. Yeah. Posterior of the forearm, right?
Posterior forearm,
Yeah, 37.
so 37. All right, so our first one is an exception in that it doesn't have its origin off the lateral epicondyle. It has its origin from the shaft of the humerus. It's actually my favorite muscle. And by that I mean for the forearm, I found it easier when I was learning muscles to choose a muscle that I would identify anytime I came to the forearm. Are we okay?
Sorry, noise. Is that
Screaming.
Anytime I would come to the forearm, I would pick the brachioradialis, and then in my head I would name every muscle until I got to the one that was tagged, because I knew I could recognize brachioradialis. Rather than just, oh, that muscle, okay, it's this, and then find out I was on the wrong side, I was medial when I should have been lateral, or I was anterior when I was really posterior. I would always pick one muscle, like pronator teres or whatever, that I could instantly recognize. And for me, it was brachioradialis. I had you know, like when people spin, they have one point that they always look at so they don't get dizzy. So that one point for me was brachioradialis. So brachioradialis comes off the shaft of the humerus, above the lateral epicondyle. And it is a posterior compartment muscle, but it comes around to the front of the forearm. So it's kind of unique. It actually flexes the elbow. Because it starts from the back, but comes around to the front of the radius. It does not cross the wrist joint. Here's a picture of our former governor.
That is definitely not him.
And here is his brachioradialis. So it comes up about 2 inches above the lateral epicondyle and wraps around the lateral aspect of the forearm to insert onto the anterior aspect of the radius. Because it is a supinator. All right? And so it comes around like this, grabs the radius, and turns the forearm over. So it supinates. So I'm going to kind of illustrate it here, coming off here, and then it kind of comes down and attaches to the anterior surface of the radius. All right, hence the dotted line. It's a very very wide muscle. So brachioradialis, still innervated by the radial nerve. All of our posterior compartment for the forearm, like the posterior compartment of the arm, is innervated by radial nerve. All right, now we're going to have extensor carpi radialis, extensor digitorum, and extensor carpi ulnaris, all of them coming off of the lateral epicondyle. So they are going to extend the elbow and extend the wrist. Extensor digitorum will also extend the finger. So extensor carpi radialis actually is 2 muscles. Extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis. If you recall, flexor carpi radialis attached to 2nd and 3rd metacarpals. You kind of split the tendon. So now extensor carpi radialis longus is going to insert onto the 2nd metacarpal. And extensor carpi radialis brevis is going to insert onto the 3rd metacarpal. If you look on your models, you can see, if you look at brachioradialis, you can see these 3 muscles in a row. And then you have to look down to the hand and see the tendons attaching to the second and third metacarpal. So let me label these and then I'll come around and help you identify them. So extensor, carpi, radialis, longus, and brevis. The longus is green and brevis is blue. Okay, so let me come around and help you find those. So this is brachioradialis. This is extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis. Okay, this one right here. And then they insert on the second and third metacarpals here. Now on this, can I borrow your, no, I'll borrow this one. I'll bring it right back. So you can actually see their tendons here and here. So that second metacarpal third, so it's, that muscle's gone here, but you can see that would be extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis here. Okay? So, well, let me go around this way. So, from the back, so this is brachioradialis, this one right here. This is extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. And here's the two tendons for longus and brevis. Right here and right here. That second metacarpal and that third metacarpal underneath it.
Okay.
Okay? Yes. So here, this is brachioradialis right here. This is longus. That one is longus, and this one is brevis. Follow the tendons down. There's the tendons attaching to the second and third metacarpal. And brachioradialis stops right here on the radius.
Well, that's where it goes.
And then extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. They come down here, and there's tendons attached longus here, brevis here. Second and third metacarpal. So these kind of all wrap around laterally like this, and then we'll see the next one coming
Go
through.
top center. Oh my god, we're having issues.
It'll be right in here. Right in here.
It's just random pieces of muscle on it.
So here we have brachioradialis, and then extensor carpi radialis longus, and extensor carpi radialis brevis. Okay, the brachioradialis.
Пошел наперед.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying though? Like, how much you think, like, you're gonna say one time?
Непонятно здесь написано.
Oh! Hey, hang on. Yeah, ironically, I have my camera open right now, so I'm gonna just do some other shit. Hair flips. The wind blow at first.
My friend's mom bought one of the new, well, it was the first time,
Помнишь, мы писали фельдшер, мы писали medical assistant. Какой мы нахрен medical assistant, если мы nurse переводимся? По сути, мы делаем то, что nurse. Фельдшер — это ну какие мы нахрен medical
Give me that.
assistant?
Give me that arm. You wanna give me that arm?
Это
You're
совсем
lazy.
не то, я не знаю, как они переводили. Кто здесь
And
использует слово пьюка?
can you hand me the hand, please? Can you hand that hand over here?
No.
Miss Lander.
Ученики. Ah, good morning, pupils.
Well, why don't we just make it like most of the cool 15% of the population and take that.
Вообще-то да.
Yeah, I'm pissed. Because I'm like, I'm a good climber. If I had that, I could be like a better climber.
Do you have it in your other one?
No.
You don't have it either?
No. Do you have one?
Сейчас не знала. Говорит, ты учила английский в школе? Да, я учила английский в школе. London is the capital of Great Britain. Say so many times. On the Thames.
It would be like, see, look at that one there. Sit.
What is that?
What? Okay, so brachioradialis, because it comes from the side to the front, is going to flex, but its primary movement is supination.
So this way.
So it pulls this way. Okay? The other two, the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis will extend the elbow and extend the wrist. And then because they go to second and third metacarpal, they also do radial deviation. So they are antagonistic to flexor carpi radialis, synergistic as well, because they both flexor and extensor will do radial deviation. Okay, so flexor carpi radialis does this, extensor carpi radialis does this, both flexor and extensor do this. They pull towards the thumb side of the hand. Okay? All right, now let's look at extensor digitorum. Its actual name is extensor digitorum communis, but that's hardly used anymore. So we just have extensor digitorum. And get rid of Arnold here.
It's not Arnold.
It's not Arnold?
It's not Arnold.
Okay, it's not Arnold, so I should keep it like Arnold.
You know what, Arnold.
Okay,
No,
so
1, 2, 3.
here's brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. And now also, we're not going to look at encomius, but also coming from the lateral epicondyle, we have this muscle that sends tendons to the 4 digits, extensor digitorum. Okay? It's going to come from lateral epicondyle as well. It's going to go to digits 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3, 4, and 5 actually. There are other muscles in the hand that help to extend the fingers. And sometimes it's considered to be part of extensor digitorum. Some people consider it to be a separate muscle from extensor digitorum. But part of this, there's another muscle that comes from underneath extensor digitorum, which is called extensor digiti minimi. Okay? Minimi. So that's, I'm not putting it on there separately, but so if you have your fingers flexed, you can lift up your second finger and move pretty well because we have an extensor indicis. You can move your little finger pretty easily by itself because we have that extensor digiti minimi. Fourth finger to try to bring it up all by itself. When your other fingers are flexed, it just doesn't do that very well for me. Okay? Third finger's not too bad, but that fourth finger just doesn't want to move by itself.
That's what that one's for.
So these are all extensor.
We all have that one. Especially when you drive. No, I honk
digitorum.
at you. It's like me yelling at you. If I honk at you, it's me yelling at you.
Yeah. So this guy. This one right here.
That's a knee slapper. What?
Okay? And then finally, we have an extensor carpi ulnaris. That doesn't go to the digits. It just goes again to the 5th metacarpal. Okay? Extensor, yeah, add it to the bottom. I left it off. Extensor carpi ulnaris. Origin is going to be the lateral epicondyle. And insertion is going to be the 5th metacarpal.
Extensor digitorum, just make sure it's going to the middle plane.
It blends into a fascial, but essentially goes to the middle one, yeah. So there is extensor carpi ulnaris. If you look on your model, turn it so you can see the medial aspect of the hand. You'll see a little piece of the ulna. On the anterior side of the ulna is flexor carpi ulnaris. And on the posterior side is extensor carpi ulnaris. Okay? So that ulna bone helps to identify those two muscles, distinguish them. So extensor carpi ulnaris.
And the origin you said is the...
Origin is still the lateral epicondyle. And insertion is the fifth metacarpal, the same as flexor carpi ulnaris. So again, extensor carpi ulnaris is going to extend the wrist. And because it goes to the little finger side, it's going to adduct or also do ulnar deviation. So it's antagonistic to flexor carpi ulnaris because it extends, and flexor carpi ulnaris flexes, but they both do adduction or ulnar deviation because they both pull on the fifth metacarpal.
Can you please repeat origin and insertion?
Origin? Yeah. Lateral epicondyle, origin, insertion, fifth metacarpal. Okay, we have 3 muscles left. So I'm going to draw those on the next forearm here. I'm going to turn the lights down just to show them to you on the diagram.
Well, she said we have 3 and I showed 4.
So extensor digitorum and extensor carpi ulnaris have been removed. So this first one is the extensor indices. Which finger is your index finger? Your second one? All right. So this muscle right here sends a tendon to the index finger. It's medial, I believe, to the extensor digitorum. So you won't see the muscle on your models. You'll just see the tendon. Then we have extensor pollicis longus, and its tendon goes to the thumb, and abductor pollicis longus, its tendon goes to the thumb. So I'll help you find those in just a moment after I draw them. So first of all, let's do extensor indices, okay? And its tendon is going to go to the index finger, to here. It's going to come off between the radius and ulna. And that is extensor extensor indices. Nobody should miss the function of extensor indices. And I'll help you find these 3 muscles in just a moment. Okay. The other 2 muscles move the thumb. Extensor pollicis longus is going to send its tendon all the way to the distal phalanx of the thumb. All right? And abductor pollicis longus is going to send its tendon to the base of the first metacarpal. So here is extensor pollicis longus, kind of comes between the 2. So extensor pollicis longus. Yes.
Is that the one that on our thing says 3 minutes or better?
No, it's
It's the very bottom one, extensor pollicis longus. What are you talking about pushing
Oh,
up?
okay.
Yeah, so it's this one right here. It's all the way to the tip of this.
Letter what? What is this one? The one that you wrote in.
Oh, the lateral epicondyle.
And then coming down the lateral aspect of the hand, you can see the muscle of this one. The muscle fiber is not just the tendon, but it stops here at the base. And this is abductor pollicis longus. There's another muscle right beside it that you don't have to know. Okay, so I'll come around and show that one, and then so abductor longus. So if you extend just your finger, your second finger, you can see that tendon under your skin. Okay. Here's how to see the tendon for the other two muscles. Kind of cock your thumb out like this. You'll see this little depression. Everybody see that? So this one up here, going out to the tip of my thumb, is extensor pollicis longus. And this shorter one here, going to the base of my thumb, is abductor pollicis longus. And that depression is called the anatomical snuff box. So back in the 1800s, people, I think it was cocaine, they would snuff. Yeah, they would go
That's an
a
awkward
little bit in
position
there.
to have your hand.
Okay?
Invented the crack nail.
No, it's tobacco.
Главное, высыпали сюда в ямку.
So,
Crack nail.
this is abductor pollicis longus right here, coming to the base of the thumb. Skip that one. Okay. And then this is the tendon for extensor pollicis longus. That one. And then this, on this side, you can only see the tendon for extensor indices. Yeah. Okay.
See, I think I have an injury to this.
All right, so we're not doing any more muscles today.
Did you do
the supinator?
Oh, I didn't draw the supinator, thank you. One more muscle today. So here's supinator. If you take off brachioradialis, you'll find the supinator.
We don't have brachioradialis.
Okay? There's abductor pollicis longus.
That was cute.
And up here, just the tendon of extensor pollicis longus. So cock your thumb, go up like this, and tighten it. Okay, so that tendon right there is extensor pollicis longus, and that tendon down here is abductor. Okay, so right there. And then extensor indices is this one right here that's coming from D. But you can't see the muscle. Okay? So on this one, that's supinator. And this is abductor pollicis longus. And this is the tendon for extensor pollicis longus. And then that one that the little finger side is the tendon for extensor indices. Comes from under the muscle. Okay? Alrighty. So supinator is this one right here. That it's under brachioradialis. So that's supinator. Here is abductor pollicis longus from here to here. And that's the tendon for extensor pollicis longus. And the tendon for extensor indices is right here. The muscle is deep. Okay? Got it? Alrighty, so if we take this muscle off here, that's supinator. I'll draw it on the
Спич получается
here. And then this would be abductor pollicis longus stopping here. So that's the finger right there. That's extensor pollicis longus. This one right here is
Он 2 раза спросил. Я не помню, чем у меня 310 или чем у меня 320.
I don't know who told this along.
It's like,
Okay. So we take this off, brachioradialis, that's your supinator, the radial nerve runs right to the visual fluid. Okay. And that's radial nerve.
nice egg. Nice.
Then this.
I took that away from
Do you want it?
What do we do now?
Oh! And then the tendon.
We should, I don't know if I brought enough flashcards to do this, but
At all, like,
we need like bigger diagrams. Some of those blank ones. Yeah,
Короче, если я же скажу, что
Stop doing that.
трансфер
Stop
или не трансфер,
using your
это не важно.
superior palpebral.
На education хочу трансфер,
Nope.
это
You're
не важно.
gonna levitate her palpebral superior. Stop it. Excuse me?
I said nothing.
A and B. C.
Если мне порыгу
Exactly
You're way out.
Why was he talking to you?
и солнце.
So defensive over here. She's probably gonna score.
Okay, let me draw the supinator on here.
I'm gonna go. French fries are cut it.
Когда выйдет, нужно это или это. Не все школы для меня. Лучше 40-ка.
That was the first one that we did, the spin or whatever.
So supinator wraps right around the radius. Almost like you took a sleeve and pulled over the radius. It's very close to that. Okay, so we'll stop there. You have some lab time. We have a case study on ALS, I believe. So 10 minutes? Is that okay for those of you doing a case study? Okay. So 10 or 15 minutes. Hold on with that.
You're just doing it?
Study material.
That we already took that.
Yeah, it's still like.
Hey, check this out though. Check this out. Can't feel anything anyway. I can't feel my legs.
Oh, go have a reevaluate rhythm.
300, 259.
No, because she's gonna be like, you don't have it.
So if you didn't catch it earlier, these page numbers from your lecture notes are the ones that have the muscles. Essentially everything we've covered Friday and today except for the breathing muscles, intercostals and diaphragm.
Ты знаешь, да, я выполняю информацию, и я добьюсь, я спрошу, пускай я точно четко не проверю. Смотрите, если действительно мне нужен,
It's probably right there, isn't it?
мне нужен только радио. Я сказала, что подобного на самом деле,
Added in the supinator.
I apologize.
It looks like brachioradialis, but it's
So
deep.
we all know that that is definitely gonna be on the
Supinate.
Supinate. It's the rapper muscle.
So we have 3 muscles in supinate.
In sign language, this is the
This?
90%.
Ah, so that's what you're doing, yeah. So brachioradialis, supinator, and biceps brachii.
I'll do that.
But the major, the strongest muscle is biceps. Yeah.
So because it's driving me nuts.
Okay.
Потому что если я скажу, конечно, лучше подумать.
I'll keep them in my. Oh,
She'll keep and treasure the gifts that we give her from our crazy group.
Это ж там
And they're not anything patented. No special helmets.
Actually, we leave those at home. What happened? We were asked to leave those at home?
yeah. Yes, it should be expiration, yeah.
Mine with me.
Guys, Simone found a error on page 23. Internal intercostals are expiration, not inspiration.
Oh, we already did that.
You want to correct it while I was lecturing? Okay. 23, internal
Rude
intercostals
of
do
us, though, that we
expiration,
didn't
not
bring it up
inspiration.
when
You notice it, Marie? Expiration, breathing out. EX.
what?
On the second pack. I should be right back. Is it still really cold outside? Look at my jacket. It's pretty cold out there.
что все люди, и что мы можем там ошибиться.
So yesterday, being at Sac State, it was so, my kids have to sit, their school doesn't open for 30 minutes after I drop them off. And my daughter woke up late anyway, so I said, well, just take me to Sac State first, and then you can take the car to school and sit in the car until it opens. So I got there 30 minutes early, I went to the lab room, which is a 10, 12-minute walk from my classroom. Set that up for lab, walked to class, and all my students are outside. It's an electronic lock, and there's some problem overnight with electricity, and the building, the entire building didn't unlock. Of course, nobody has class at 7:30, none of the offices are open. Of course not. And so it was the first time I'd actually worn gloves and a scarf and a jacket. So I was happy, because normally I park 15 minutes from the front door, and I just walk in, and by the time I come out, it's warm enough to walk to lab. So I called security,
Shot out of that.
they answered, and they said, well, if it's electronic lock, we can't open the door. I'm like, are you kidding me? Police cannot get into a building? That's ridiculous. So at 7:32, facilities finally answered. And she said, well, don't you have a key to the building? And I said, no, I only have keys to the buildings where I have lab or my own office. She said, well, let me see if I can unlock it. So she tried from her computer and it wouldn't unlock. So there's about 88 students in the class, but by this time of the year, only about 40 or 5 or 50 show up. And so we went over to the library, found a classroom for about 35 students.
Oh, yeah.
I had 15 students sitting on the floor, and about 8 of them were this far from the whiteboard.
Like you can see.
So and the middle light didn't work. So I'm writing over here. Unfortunately, I had sliding whiteboards, so I'd write over here and slide the board over so they could see what I was writing. And then there were 2 sliding ones. I'd pull another one.
Oh, my gosh.
And we left a note on the door, because of course students come in late, thank you. We left a note on the door saying we were over there on my cell phone to call. And then when I finally, we knew what room number we were in, I had the second or third student call the room number on there. So I went into the office a little bit later and they said, where were you this morning? We had students calling, wondering where my class wasn't being held. And I said, well, I just didn't know on the door. And it had the room number, well, my phone number, but I think they came, so we left at 7:40. They said that the person, they